Now I'd like to move to common misperceptions about wills and legal paperwork. Power of attorney. This is one of the most common mistakes that people make, is they think that a power of attorney actually covers the person through death. It doesn't. The power of attorney is only valid when someone is alive. Death renders all guardianship and power of attorney documentation invalid. If a person held guardianship or power of attorney for the deceased, that person will not have the authority to act on the deceased's behalf in death. I've talked to a lot of friends that are about my age, and they're like, I'm okay, I've got power of attorney for my mom. I'm like, no, you're not. So, just a really good point. You need a power of attorney, but that isn't the same as a personal representative for a will or for actions. There are a million reasons people choose not to make a will. It's like, I'll get to it, it'll work itself out, I don't want to think about it. I can't even tell you how many friends I have that have children and do not have a will, and they don't have guardianship set up. It's a crazy world, we're all busy, it's all, we're all trying to do the best that we can. But my perspective is, choosing to not have a will is an active choice. So, I think the best thing that you can think of about a will is that not having a will puts a tremendous amount of pain and pressure on the loved ones left behind. That is the number one reason that you should do it. It's your one last final gift to your family, that you can at least leave them a nice clean paperwork notebook. Here's my life, it's gonna be okay. Instead of like just paper scattered everywhere and like good luck trying to figure it all out. Because it's really critical to understand that what the paperwork is for. It's really not about you. It's 100% about the people that you love most in this world, because they're the ones that have to deal with the fallout if you haven't prepared. I like to look at it like buying an insurance plan. You buy insurance for your home, your car, your health. A will is your insurance for your death. And just to sort of hit the point home, and not to be overly dramatic, but I'm just sharing this because it happens, and it happened to us. Because my sister did not have a will, and we did not have any of the necessary paperwork required to settle her accounts, and we had no idea where to go. We didn't know about the $50,000 small estate issue. So my dad just started calling places, and my dad started trying to close accounts. So this conversation between my dad and my sister's cell phone provider actually happened. But she's dead. I have her death certificate. I understand that, sir, but technically we need her to close the account. But she's dead. I'm her father. I can send you her death certificate. Sir, that's our policy. But that doesn't make any sense. She's dead. I understand that, sir, but she has to close the account herself. Fine, you can send her bill to the cemetery. So what happened, unfortunately, was that because accounts were not, my dad was not able or allowed to close many accounts, her accounts went to a collection agency. And then collection agency started calling my parents' house night and day. Oh. And we had just lost her. So even though like logically you would think that can't happen, it does. And if we had, and I'm not blaming my sister at all, obviously, of course, she had no idea. I didn't have any idea. I didn't have a will at the time. But this is what can happen if this paperwork isn't in place. And if you don't have the paperwork in place, and again, maybe an adult child dies, hopefully you can maybe just get the small estate affidavit, but just know that these things, unless you have actual legal paperwork, aside from the death certificate, the legal paperwork required shows that the person that is handing that paperwork in is legally allowed and authorized to act on that person's behalf. So my advice moving forward was, as I started going through this, I realized like really what you need is put your house in order. And I know this is a group that is on the ball with this. But I would take it one step further. If you can organize all of your accounts, make a detailed list of accounts, passwords, logins, all relevant and personal and financial information, so that anybody can come in and pick up the pieces of your life with relative ease, that becomes much easier. Because, for example, say you get into a car accident and thank God you're okay, but you are on traction and on morphine for 3 weeks straight. You are in no shape to handle any of your financial affairs at home. Now, within that 3-week period, suppose you have a credit card due, a phone bill due, a utility bill due, and your mortgage due. If you miss one, credit card agencies are waiting for this to happen. So the minute you miss a payment, your interest rates can skyrocket up to 33, 34%. So the idea of having your life where somebody could kind of pick up and like be like, okay, I know she's in the hospital, and let me just go and let me just make her payments for her for these next few weeks, alleviates a lot of problems. And that's something that if we knew my sister's accounts and passwords and information, we could have just gone in as her and closed the accounts. I mean, we still had to provide notification that she had died, but we could have done that afterwards. We could have gone in, logged in, paid off the balances, closed the accounts, and then provided a death certificate. Easy peasy. Instead, collection agencies. So as I was writing my book, I ended up also writing a workbook that covers all of these things of making an entire list. And mine is like a writable PDF, but whether you use my workbook, you use your own, just if you can think about like putting together like a little notebook, a book of your life that somebody could come in and help you with. If you get sick, if you get into an accident, you get stuck, there's a that volcano that happened in Sweden or wherever it was, however many years ago, you get stuck in another country and you don't have access to your bills. Can somebody come in and at least just pay them? So, and it's kind of a pain to do all of it, but once it's done, which is, I think, a huge relief. And then, let's see. I wanted to cover just a couple of things about bank accounts and credit cards that people are often not aware of. For bank accounts, it is customary for banks to freeze bank accounts upon the notice of a person's death. So surviving family members will need to file the death certificate and update the account before the funds can be transferred. Now, if the bank account is frozen and it's going to have to go through probate if it's just in that one person's name. Say you're married and your husband makes all of the house payments from his single account. You will need to, you won't have access to it. And you'll get it eventually, but you may miss a great deal of your mortgage payments, which then puts you in trouble with the bank and increases your interest rates. So something to think about is if you share a bank account, or if you know that there's somebody that could come in and take over these payments, like say you want to keep the house, put 2 people on the bank account, and then that account does not get frozen. So for example, a friend of mine, we were just talking about this, and her mother is going to put my friend, on the mother's bank account in case something happens. She wants her to have easy access to money, to be able to pay for the house, pay for the car, make sure that everything kind of continues to run smoothly. In some states, joint accounts can be frozen, but it's more likely that they won't be. But this may be true too for like if you have kids in college and perhaps you share a bank account with them, and that bank account is paying for their college tuition or it's paying for their rent. You want to make sure that everything isn't just contained into just your bank account if there are other responsibilities that the bank account fulfills. If the deceased named a beneficiary to receive the accounts in the event of death, and that's called payable on death or transfer on death, the money should automatically transfer to the beneficiary and does not, key point, have to go through probate. You will likely have to file paperwork at the bank to confirm the transfer. As far as investments, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc., you will have to contact the advisor or investment company to notify them of your loved one's passing. You will be having to provide a death certificate countless times, so you'd want to get like 25 to 30 copies from the funeral home. The investment advisor will need to register the death and update the name on the account. If it's in that person's name alone, it has to go through probate. If it's shared or there's actually a beneficiary, it bypasses probate and goes directly to that beneficiary.